I would like to introduce our presenter, Pam Glassoff, with a BA in Ethnic Studies from California State University East Bay and a Human Services certificate from Merritt College. She comes to us today with 25 years of experience as a housing navigator working with families and individuals living in emergency shelters in Alameda County. During that time, she has developed the Housing Academy, which is a curriculum which teaches participants how to access affordable housing and deal with barriers along the way. She has also presented this Housing Academy to groups at shelters along with personalized housing navigation. And earlier this year, she has participated and presented in our recent Help Me Grow Network Cafe. I'd like to welcome back Pam Glassoff. We're so excited to have you present with us here today.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I know all of you guys in your hearts, maybe not personally, but I certainly know the kind of work you do, and I laud it. And I really, I can't tell you how much I am connected to every one of you guys, because this is the kind of work we do. And I know the kind of challenges that you face when you're trying to house people. My goal today is to basically relay the basically information that I've gathered over the last 25 years as a housing navigator to which is distilled down into a very basic system of assistance. And basically what I'm trying to do is give you guys clarity and reality about the system and what our expectations can be and how we can be successful with our clients, so that none of us go down tunnels that don't have any cheese at the end of it. So we want to actually have a really good grasp of, by the time you're done, you'll have a really good grasp of what housing navigation is and what to do and what not to do. And from my experience and having worked with people for 25 years. So anyway, I'm going to share a lot of information. I'm going to share a lot of information about 211 and housing navigation. So we'll take breaks in between. I don't want to overwhelm you too much with information, but let's start here. All right, so 211 has been around for a long time. Before that, we were a community line, just a regular community line calling 9 to 5. And it's about 15, I think, years ago or so, we became 211. And 211 is a national number, like all over the country. All these communities have 211, and we're the Alameda County 211. What we're going to cover today is we're basically going to cover what is 211, accessing the resources on 211, caller's experience, the coordinated entry, which I know you probably guys have a lot of questions about that. I can try to answer some of them from the perspective of 211. We'll take a break. We'll talk about 211 housing services. What is affordable housing? Define that. We'll talk about useful websites that you can use for your searches and helping your clients, tips for housing navigation success, and other 211 programs. Our mission is really linking people and resources. It's basically giving people power. We envision a community empowered with information and connected to resources so that all people obtain health, happiness, hope, and improved livelihoods. And maybe some of you may not know, but we have different ways of connecting with 211. 211 you can call 24/7. You can also email us at info@edeninr.org for referrals. Expect a 2-day business response day, although I've gotten it much faster. And you can also do two-way texting, 898-211, and that's available Monday through Friday. Those are different ways you can access 211. In the last, in 23-24, we had about 65,000 contacts, which was emails, texts, and calls. We got a lot of volume. We have about 16 operators. Most of our callers are female. Half of them are living with disabilities. Everybody is very low income. And we have single moms with minor children and about 17% seniors. Sometimes people complain they have problems connecting with 211. Here's some tips on that I've pulled together. Average wait time, believe it or not, in August was under a minute. That also, we also know that the best time to call is Wednesday between 10 and 1 because that's when all the operators are on. Okay, so if you don't want to wait much, you can call it on Wednesday from between 10 and 1. If you have routing issues, some people, you know, the way 211 works is you drive through, if you're in a car, you're in Alameda County, you call 211, you're going to get the Alameda 211. If you drive into Contra Costa County, you'll get you'll call and you'll get the 211, you'll get the Contra Costa County 211. Same with every county, you know, area. But if you're having routing issues, sometimes some phone carriers have trouble capturing 211 on the smartphone. You can call us at our admin line at 727-9560 and we can troubleshoot for it. Also, if you're calling in and you don't want to wait, you can request a callback. I think I don't remember the number you called, you press a number on your dial pad and you'll get a callback. And that callback will say 211 Alico on your display. So you'll see 211 Alico. And then of course you can email us, another way to do it, and you can text us. Now from the survey that you sent out, these were the top resource requests from the survey, just for your information. I'm not going to go into specific resources today because we're a generalist phone line. We're like the librarian. We point you in the direction. I'm going to show you how to access the information in our database, all different kinds of ways. But some of the top requests that you guys mentioned were backpack giveaways. And yes, we do that during the seasonal times. Holiday food drives, we do that. Turkeys and Christmas giveaways and turkeys and meals and stuff. Housing resources, which we're really going to go into today. Shelters, we have a handful of shelters. We can provide information on that. Resources for emergency situations, I'm going to talk about that. Educational resources, eviction prevention, and then somebody mentioned Measure X, and I wasn't sure what that was. This is in Contra Costa County. Does anybody want to jump off mute and tell me what I heard it was a sales tax, right? And I wasn't sure how it affected our county, if it did.
I believe it's like Measure C is for Alameda County. And by the way, I'm Tina Fleeton, family navigator with Bananas.
Oh, okay.
So I think that Measure X represents the same kind of sales tax reserve for Contra Costa County that's now going to be administered to to R&Rs to serve families.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
Because Measure X is, I understand, is for Contra Costa. Okay, cool. We'll probably see that those programs develop as the funding gets provided, and then we'll be taking that information and putting it into our database as because we just basically put the programs in. So as soon as the programs are up and running, we will put them into our database. But not only for Alameda County.
If I could just add a little bit to that. So as far as we know, we are one of the participating organizations that works with Measure X. So there's a couple of nonprofits that are participating, and it's more so like for rental assistance. But from our knowledge, it's based on a referral now. So they have to call 211 and get pre-screened. And if whichever 211 rep after the pre-screening decides that they do qualify, then they put their information into a database and the participating organizations have access to that. But we have been sending everyone to call 211 and they'll do the pre-screening.
Oh, no kidding. Which 211?
So this is for Contra Costa County only.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good.
Yeah, that information is correct. So we are one of the agencies receiving those referrals from 211. So we cannot do the pre-screening. Every single client, they need to go through 211, but this is only for Contra Costa County. So we can provide assistance with back rent, security deposit, late fees, legal fees, and other resources.
That's great. It's great. So they call 211 in Contra Costa County with their need, and then they're referred to you, whichever.
Yes, if they qualify,
first. Oh, that's
because they have to pass the
fantastic.
pre-screening.
That's great. It'd be nice
Mhm.
to have them here. Thank you.
Yeah, if
Thanks a
if
lot.
they don't qualify for Measure X, so they're gonna be referred to another organization like Shelter Inc. or for other funds that we have, like internal funds, so we can use different funds, but Measure X is very flexible for rental assistance.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, clarity. So here's a way to access the information that you might enjoy. If you like to do your own browsing, and do your own searching, you can go to the 211 Alameda County website, 211alamedacounty.org, and you'll see this facing page. Click on the Health, Housing, and Human Services icon, and you'll see categories of things: financial assistance, you'll see shelters, you'll see housing, you'll see everything in a category. Click on the category if it's in the category that you're interested in. Or at the bottom is a search bar, and you can use the search bar to say type in diapers and click on diapers, and you'll get all the agencies that have diapers. And I looked at the other day, it's like 12 agencies that have diapers. We also have transportation services, and that's kind of a cool thing. It has listings for paratransit. It has listings for deals on transportation, agencies that maybe assist people who have disabilities on learning how to use the transit system. We have reentry services as well for people who are looking for reentry services. So these are good ways, easier ways, and maybe possibly ways you might like to look at for it. Because when you look at the database, these programs have all of the data that's in our database in this website, so you can look and use it with confidence. And it's kind of nice because it's formatted in a way where you can just see all the hours, the location, everything is very well formatted, and you can just print it out and give it to your clients. And then the question I think is, what will a caller experience when they call 211? The average wait time is about a minute. Although during the heavier times, like early in the week, it's always busy. We got a longer wait times on Mondays, Tuesdays, slower on the Friday and end of the week when people are wrapping up. They can ask for a callback, and that's easy to do. The CRS, which is our operator, community resource specialist, will do an initial 5-minute intake, and they'll ask a lot of questions, and some of them may not be seen relevant. But what it does is it helps the 211 CRS to determine what programs that person might be eligible for that they don't even realize that they have eligibility for that might fit their needs. So these things are really important to ask these questions. Have you ever been evicted? All kinds of things. And that will help them determine. We don't ask them for citizenship. And all this information that we have is contained within our agency. We're a nonprofit. We're not connected to the county or any of those agencies. So we're not sharing any of our information with anybody. It's all confidential. So in case people are worried, like they're about their citizenship or something, or their status, we don't share anything with any agencies, or federal or county or city agencies. And then basically the caller will tell us what they need. The CRS will look for the agencies, the programs that assist them. They'll check the eligibility of the client for those programs, and then they'll text or email those referrals to them. And if they don't have a smartphone and they don't take texts, just have them have a pen and paper ready. They'll have a pen and paper ready, and they'll be ready to go. And then the client will follow up with the information provided. We don't do any follow-ups. We don't do any of the next steps. Clients are on their own. Once they get the information, they're basically on their own to move it forward. As a case manager, you're totally welcome to call 211 for resources. Lots of case managers call 211 for resources and information. We don't keep you on the line forever. We don't ask you a million questions. You ask us, what are you looking for? You know, you tell us what you're looking for. We'll look it up for you. But 211 encourages you to have your client present with you. If you have a client that you're calling about, if possible, have them answer all of the 211 intake questions, because, you know, as a caseworker, you may not know all the answers to their questions. So it's nice to have them with you present. And assist your caller in calculating their monthly gross income, which sounds funny, but it helps us determine what they're eligible for. You know, so. And that can be complicated sometimes. People don't remember exactly how much everybody's making, so it's nice to be able to calculate that together. So here's a big question, and I know a lot of people have this issue. What if your client is having a housing crisis? Very common, right? Let's see here. I want to just. Okay. And if they're having a housing crisis, it's really best for them to call 211 for several reasons. And if they're literally homeless, which is in a car, on the street, in a shelter, in transitional housing, in a place not meant for human habitation, that's the definition of literally homeless, the HUD definition. And because of that, there's a program called the Coordinated Entry System, which I'm going to talk about a little later. The coordinated entry is we're an entry point. 211 is an entry point for the coordinated entry system, and that's a place where everybody who's literally homeless should definitely call 211 and be referred there, and I'll tell you why in a moment. Also, 211 provides resources for people that are not literally homeless, that are on couches, you know, couch surfing, staying with friends, and they're not on the street, but they still need help. And I know you have a lot of families that are, you know, squished in together into an apartment looking for another place of their own. We can offer a limited number of shelter beds to them. And that's, you know, but it's a small amount. And the reason is that the coordinated entry system has taken all of the shelter beds and put them under their purview, because they're coordinating the distribution of those resources. We at 211 used to have access to all of those shelter beds, but now we have a small number of shelter beds that we access. So there's not that many, there's a handful of shelters, but we do provide those to people that are not literally homeless. I hope I haven't confused you. So literally homeless people go into the Housing Resource Center, and we'll talk about how that happens. And the non-literally homeless, the couch surfers, we also serve them with resources. And of course, if anybody is experiencing domestic violence, we'll provide the DV shelter listings, which are open 24/7. So here I'm going to explain a little bit. I'll explain from my perspective, which is the 211 perspective of coordinated entry. And coordinated entry is an architecture. It's sort of it's a system that provides, supports people experiencing homelessness by offering accessible connections to housing support. Because in the old days, before coordinated entry, the persons with the best hustle would get the resources. But the people that were chronically homeless, were, you know, without a phone, were like ill, were on the streets, you usually didn't have the wherewithal to be able to get those resources. So what they decided to do was create a funnel system where they brought everybody in through 211. We screened them for literally homelessness, to see whether they were qualified for the HRC. And then basically we would give them refer them to the HRC. The HRC then would vet them and look at them and give them what they called a vulnerability score. The vulnerability score means if you're chronically homeless, you get a higher score. If you're able-bodied, you get a lower score. The people with the highest scores would get the resources first. And those resources are the shelters and some financial assistance, and maybe a little bit of housing, but very, very scarce on that end either. So basically everyone that is literally homeless should be entering the housing resource centers, because that's where they'll get some resources if possible. And I will say that my expectations will, because people have gone to the housing resource centers and haven't gotten what they expected to get. But it is the only place where we have a lot of all the shelter beds in Alameda County are within this particular grouping of things. They also offer some problem solving. On our end at 211, we basically, once we've screened someone for literally homeless, we will refer them to the appropriate housing resource center. But then they're basically on their in that system. We don't have transparency into that system. We don't know exactly what is going to happen once they get there. And so it's on them, the clients, to stay in touch with their case manager at the housing resource centers. So I'm sure this is a very hot topic, because a lot of people go in and bump around in the system and don't know exactly what they're doing. So does anybody have any questions that we could discuss, maybe to talk about, and maybe experiences?
We do have a question in the chat. There's a question around CRS. Do your CRS speak different languages and or interpreters? Are interpreters available for the callers?
Yes, we have Spanish speaking CRS, we have Cantonese speaking CRS, and we use an interpretation service.
Okay, I'm gonna say that's it for the chat, but if folks want to come off mute and share a question that they would like to ask, you're welcome to do so. Oh, here's another question. Do pregnant mom or parents with kids get priority?
They do, I think, with kids with children. Yeah, they do. That doesn't mean that they'll get to the top of the list. It means that in the whole list, they'll be higher up than, say, a single able-bodied person. With kids, it does give you definitely a vulnerability score.
What is the average time for a parent with 2 to 3 children to enter the shelter?
I don't know. It depends on when they did it, when they went in, when they applied for. Actually, were transferred into the assessment. I really don't know. It depends. It really depends, and it depends on how many other people are in that system too. One of the things that I want to mention is the CES is Coordinated Entry System. That has housing resource centers. They're housing resource centers that are part of this system where people go to get assessments. That's where the 211 will refer your client. And the housing resource, there are about 5 or 6 of them in the county. There are one in Fremont, one in Tri-Valley, a couple in San Leandro, a couple in Oakland, one in Berkeley. And they're spread out, and the clients would be referred to the one that's most appropriate to them. Either they're spend the most time there, or they have business there, or whatever. So we would refer them to that HRC. That HRC has certain hours. Sometimes they may be open 2 days a week, 3 days a week, whatever. And that's where they would go and get an assessment. And that's where they would get all the questions. They would ask them all the questions about, where did you stay, and how long have you been homeless, and do you have kids, and do you have any health issues, and all these kinds of questions that would be pertinent to their status. That's what will happen. Then once they've gotten that assessment, they'll do some problem solving with them, discuss their case, try to help them out that way. But the no resources, I don't think at that point will be offered. And then they will get that contact information, and they can stay in touch, try to stay in touch with that caseworker that, or some way of staying in touch with that HRC so that they can update their status. One of the biggest challenges for the HRCs is to keep track of the clients, because clients have, they're transient, they move around, they may lose their phone, they may lose their contact information, so that it's a big challenge sometimes to provide them and get them the resources that they need. Say a shelter opens up and it's perfect for them, but we need to contact them. So that is one thing that the clients need to do, is to stay in touch. So, and once that initial assessment is done, they're in the system. They don't have to go back again. They will wait for contact from the HRC, and they should stay in touch with the HRC if something does happen and their status changes. They're no longer in their car, they're on the street. That will also up their vulnerability score. So anything that changes will be helpful for them to relay that information.
A couple of questions in the chat, and then we also have a hand raised. So we'll also revisit that too as well. When DV shelters are full, is there some emergency resource provided?
At times, I think some of the resources, some of the shelters will provide a motel voucher at times, I think. I can't speak for them, and that is what I've heard, and I've seen that, and I guess it depends on motel vouchers that they have. We don't have any access to motel vouchers, but the shelters might.
And just to confirm, HRC stands for Housing Resource Center?
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. And then Rosemary had her hand up. You're welcome to come off mute, Rosemary.
Hi, Rosemary.
Thank you. Hi, Pam. First of all, thank you for being here. It's challenging. You have 3 screens full of people here listening to you attentively because we care.
Yeah.
And one of the thing I wanted to ask, if it's possible, housing is it's an affliction that most of us that work with communities are challenging, and we want to help, but that comes with knowledge. Is there any possibility to get some training, guidance, or participate, or being like, so we can go there and just understand the process? What is first, what's second, and see if we can be part of the solution, and to help, and instead of just sending people to 1-1 and overflowing, that we can really be partners with you to help our community and
Yeah.
make a difference.
Oh,
So
definitely.
I will, suggest, if it is anything available, please count me in, but I know that there are probably some other ones that would like to understand how this process ends. First,
Yeah.
and when to, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, this is exactly why I'm here today, Rosemary, because I want to share what I've learned, and I want you to understand and empower you to do this with your clients. And I'm going to work on that. I'm going to talk about that later on in this presentation. We're going to talk about the nuts and bolts of housing and how to access it. What I'll say is that the coordinated entry system is one system, and it's for emergency situations like people who are homeless, literally homeless. But then there's another system, which I'm going to address now, which is not about being homeless or not being homeless. It's just about affordable housing, how you can access affordable housing. And you don't have to be homeless. You don't have to be or housed or anything, you just have to be low income. And we can work with that system. That system is a lot more accessible to us as caseworkers than the CES system. And the CES, we should use both systems. We should use the CES system for people who may be able to get a shelter bed for our very literally homeless families. And then we want to look at we're going to do that later in the presentation, how to work this other system, which is the affordable housing system, and how to work that. That's kind of my expertise. So we'll talk about that as soon as we're back from our break. We're going to take a break in a few minutes here. Thanks, Rosemary. Yeah.
We have another question in the chat. Do you know if HRCs provide showers or laundry services?
I really don't know. I'm not sure, but I do know that there are places in our database that do provide laundry and shower services. Like St. Vincent de Paul, there's a women's and children's center, I think, down in Oakland that has laundry services. And you could type in, when you go to you can look at that resource finder and you could type in laundry, or you could type in showers, and you should be able to find those. Sometimes the resource finder, you need to use certain types of words. If you use a word and it doesn't quite get what you wanted, use a word that's similar to that word. I think laundry and showers is pretty straightforward, but it just it's not like a Google search. It's a little more finicky, let's put it that way. But you play around with that because you'll see some listings for that. But I'm not sure about the HRCs. Some of the HRCs are like East Oakland Community Project, which is the shelter in downtown in East Oakland. They have shelter, they have those resources, but you have to be a resident of the shelter to get them. So, but as soon as you would become a resident of the shelter, you would have access to them. Yeah, I think what they're going to do, the people that will do the assessment are going to do their very best to also provide resources for people. If they can't provide them with a shelter bed, they'll probably try to find other resources for them too. They're trying their best to do what we do on their end, but I can't speak for specifically. I don't think they're set up that way.
There were a couple of comments in the chat. So someone has mentioned that CalPEP provides some showers, and Covenant House has washers, dryers for use for unhoused young women. So thank you for sharing those in the chat. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, great.
Again, opening the floor to any other questions that folks may have. You're welcome to come off mute and share your question or drop it in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, I think it looks like there's no other questions in the chat, and there are no other questions or no hands raised.
All right. Okay. So we're ready to take our break, Catherine?
Sure, let's come back in about 5 minutes from now.
Welcome back, everybody. Oh, now we're going to launch into the kind of some of the housing resources that we was talking about. We at 211 are a unique 211. Alameda County is the only 211 that we know of in the state that has housing resources as well as service resources. We have two databases. We have the service database and we have the housing database. The housing database was created during the Loma Prieta earthquake because people were displaced, and the cities came to us and said, hey, 211, you'd be a natural for this distribution of information. Why you create a housing database of affordable housing and just market rate units and all kinds of units where people who call in can say, hey, I need a place and I also need, deposit assistance. So it was a natural fit for 211. And after the earthquake, cities continue to fund us because the market here is so crazy and so expensive that they thought, hey, affordable housing, we should have it accessible. So we've actually continued to fund it ourselves. We don't get a lot of funding for the housing services, but they're such a valuable part of our resources, and for the people like yourselves that need help finding resources, and also all of our callers, half of our callers are looking for housing resources. So, it's a very valuable thing to have it. So we have three types of housing in our database. We have affordable housing, we have shared housing, and we have market rate housing. Affordable housing has waiting lists. Shared housing has immediate occupancy, but they come in two different varieties. Beds, people are renting beds, like you have a room with like 2 bunk beds, you'll rent a bed in that room. They cost around $700 a month. It's the cheapest form of housing that we have in the county. Or you can rent a private room, which is a shared room, like someone has a house and they want to rent one of their rooms in the house, or there's a house with a lot of rooms and people rent rooms out of that house. That can cost, anywhere between $900 and $1,200 a month. Market rate housing is, as we know, pretty expensive. We try to keep this at the cheapest price point, around the fair market rate. But that's immediately available, of course, you can move into that. And also people who have Section 8 vouchers are looking for market rate housing too. So we have places, we have units that have historically taken Section 8, so they're Section 8 friendly, and that's good. So not every single one of them is, but we have a percentage of our housing is like that. So those are the types of housing we have in our database. Now we're going to talk a little bit about affordable housing and the types of housing that we're talking about. There's only really, I'd say, 3 different types of affordable housing. One is called below market rate, and those are units that basically have a set rent, but it's cheaper than a market rate unit. So that for the same unit, if it was a market rate unit, you'd be spending like, say, $2,000. For the BMR, you might spend $1,500 or $1,000. Originally, they were designed to provide rentals for people who are teachers or like policemen or people who worked, so they could stay in the community that they served. But they're also they're lower income too. But they tend to be for people who have some income. Okay. Those are called below market rate units. And they fall into different like tiers of buckets. They have, if you say 30% AMI or 50% AMI or 80% AMI, they're different tiers of rent. Like you'll have very extremely low, very low, and low. Some of the affordable housing people go, whoa, this is not affordable. This is like a market rate unit. What are you talking about? And I don't qualify for this. They'll go in and they'll say, I don't qualify for this. Or it'll be really extremely low and they'll have a little income and they'll say, I don't qualify for this. So you have to, the person that's applying has to make sure that their income fits in with the income eligibility of that property. Okay, so it's all basically simple enough. Usually it's, the manager would tell them, okay, you fit into this category or you don't. You can apply, and then below market rate units are all over the place. We have a majority in our county of below market rate units. That's where the most of the affordable housing is we have. There's also the Section 8 and project-based units. These are funded by HUD. Housing and Urban Development is a federal program. It has deep pockets. They have a lot of money, and they can really discount those rentals. Section 8, I'm sure many of you heard of Section 8, and many of you are familiar with it. But for those who aren't, it's a voucher program. You have a piece of paper, you go around, you go to the landlord, you say, hey, I want to rent one of your units. And and if you pass the credit and if he accepts you, and you go through the inspections and all that stuff, you'll sign a lease like everybody else. It'll be a standard lease, and you'll pay usually capped about 30% of your adjusted monthly income. So you'll be paying, if you make $1,000 a month, you'll be paying $333 a month for rent, and the housing authority would pay the rest of the rent up to whatever it is, $2,000. So they'd be paying like $1,700 for that unit. So it's a Cadillac. It's the Cadillac of housing programs, and it's hard to get because the lists don't open very often. But when they do, people do apply, and they're usually very long lists, but that is a Section 8 program. Now, the other type of HUD funded housing is project-based units. Now, those are apartments that have the great 30% of rent. I'm sorry, 30% of income rent. That's the kind you want. And many of our clients are very low income on CalWorks and maybe general assistance, whatever they have. Those work for those clients. SSI, great for those clients. That income stays with the unit. It doesn't move around. It's not like having a voucher where you can you can move into a community and go rent from one apartment and then move to another apartment. That project-based unit has the great rent, but it stays with that unit. And we have some of those units. We have some of those kinds of units in the community too. And I'll show you how to find them when we further on down the road here. But there are fewer than the below market rate units. But there are also many scattered around through the community. And as you know, affordable housing is very nice. It's really well built. It's beautiful. Most of the time you'll see it and you'll be, wow, that's really nice. Those are really nice units. So it's scattered all throughout the community. You'll see a building and you really won't realize, wow, that's affordable housing. So there's no real stigma about having an affordable unit. And there are varieties, and there are some in great locations, some in not great locations, but they're fantastic, and they're being built here in the community because we had some funding, A1 funding years back, and they're continuing to build those units out. Just to touch on citizenship requirements, as that is a hot topic right now. A lot of people who have citizenship issues. Some below market rate units will accept an applicant without citizenship. Not all of them will. It's kind of up to the developer. But properties that are funded by HUD, by the federal government, do require U.S. citizenship, just so you know. Okay. So there we go.
I think we have a couple of questions, Pam.
Oh,
If we
sure.
can take some questions.
Yeah.
Can you explain AMI?
Yes. Okay. AMI means adjusted median income. That means it's if you take Alameda County and you got the highest income and the lowest income, it's the middle income. It's in the middle of that range. Okay, it's not an average. It's the median income. It's the middle, and every year it changes. It may go up a little. Usually it goes up a little bit, but every year it changes. They do a new calculation, and they base that. All of their affordable housing is based on the AMI of the community. If you go to Contra Costa County, it'll have a lower AMI, okay, adjusted median income, because the incomes are a little lower there. So, but the affordable housing properties are based on what they call the AMI, and you have 100% AMI, which is the dead center. That's the middle. It's probably like around $100,000 or so in Alameda County. At least, so that's 100% AMI. But anything below 100% AMI is grounds for affordable housing. They'll start to look at 80% AMI, which is 80% of the 100%. That's the first category. So you've got 80% to 100%. That's an 80% AMI, or for what you call the higher affordable cost housing. The rents will be higher. Then usually you have a 50% AMI around there. That's they call that the very low income. That'll be the 50% of that 100 middle part. That's where you'll go for that bucket. And then there's the 30% AMI, which is the extremely low income, and all those folks will be available to those units. And an AMI, when you go to a property and they say it's 30% AMI, that means basically there's a cap. They're designating those properties for extremely low income people. That means you can't make over a certain amount of money. Your monthly or your annual income cannot be over a certain amount. in order to qualify. And that's how that's how they designate. And that's why that's the significance of an AMI. It's basically how, you qualify for certain AMIs based on your income, but you cannot, if you're 30% of AMI and you're getting into a 30% unit and you're paying that really good rent, you cannot make over a certain amount of money. And they're strict about that. And that's true of the 50% and the 80%. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, good, good, good. Yeah.
We have a couple other questions. There was a comment question around why are these apartments going off credit when we know people are having a hard time? And what about background checks or people with backgrounds?
Yeah. That's an issue among the affordable housing advocates and the developers. And it's always comes up as a sore point. We all agree that people who it's easy to pay your bills when you have money, and it's not so easy when you don't have money. And so your credit can go schmuck. But you're still I think everybody who applies for affordable housing is maybe denied, can be denied due to credit issues, but they also have a window of opportunity to appeal. That's part of the deal with affordable housing. Everybody can appeal a denial. If they appeal, they may have to appeal, and it'll explain how they need to appeal it, either in writing or you can go and speak with somebody in an interview. Basically, then you can build your case about why your credit got messed up then and why it's okay now. That happened in the past. You write letters, you explain what happened. I'm telling you the remedy. I'm not saying that this is not a good thing. It's a difficult thing. It makes it difficult for people, but it's under discussion a lot of times. And some places, some developers are being much more lenient than others. They don't do the strict credit checks. They do background checks. That is part of the deal. But I think as I say, they're trying to be lenient, and they're trying to do a case by case. And I think as people who apply for affordable housing, they can apply to as many as they want to. It's free to apply to get on the list. Once they have that initial meeting, I can give you some tips on what to bring, what to say when you want to present the case. It's sort of like having an application for a job and you want a good cover letter, basically. But I'll talk about that later. But yes, it is an issue, and it's a shame. But it's discussed a lot. And I know developers are highly aware.
We have, I think, 2 more questions. Do you have any advice for families who are searching for a 4-bedroom house with a Fremont Pleasanton Section 8 voucher, given as a result of feeling unsafe due to violence from another family in the apartment? Clients have been searching since May. They've reached out to Oakland Housing Authority, Hayward Housing Authority, which manages a Fremont Section 8, but haven't been able to get approved for a home.
I think the Fremont Housing Authority, I don't think the Fremont has a housing authority, but it is it's administered by the HACA, which is Housing Authority of Alameda County. So they're actually eligible to live anywhere, in the HACA jurisdiction, which is Fremont, Newark, Union City, San Leandro, Hayward, Albany, Emeryville, and so they can move if they really wanted Fremont for reasons like schooling or education. That's another subject, but I think because their voucher is it sounds like I'm not aware of a Fremont voucher. If the other thing is, well, as far as advice goes, Fremont is a really tight market. It's an expensive market. It is difficult to find units in Fremont. So I mean, I think if you were desperate enough, you might consider going to Union City or Newark as an alternative, and I think you could do it with that kind of a voucher. Unless it's a unique voucher, then I'm not sure about, but if sometimes you can port them into different cities. But I think you can call 211 and ask 211 operator for those units, because we have listings for properties that historically took Section 8 and they were welcoming Section 8, so that some of the landlords, even though landlords these days are required by the state law to accept a voucher and not discriminate, they do, because they find ways around it. They'll say your credit's not good, whatever, and you'll never know. But we at 211 have landlords that historically have accepted Section 8 even before the law changed, so that we know that they're Section 8 friendly. So I think calling 211 and asking 211 if they have any Fremont units. It's a pretty heavy lift. It's a 4-bedroom house, in Fremont, and that's hard to find anyway. But anyway, those are my suggestions.
What happens when someone in a project-based unit starts to earn more income?
Oh, their rent goes up. And at some point, if they make too much, they may not qualify anymore because there is a cap on those. So their rent goes up. As alternatively, if they lose their job, their rent would go down. But they need to report to the housing authority, let them know. Housing authority will then adjust their rent according to their income. The other thing is below market rate units that we were discussing before. If you move into a below market rate unit at a certain rent, you won't ever have to move. Even if you make more money, your rent won't change. But if you lose income and you lose a job, your rent does not go down like it does in the project-based unit. So advantages and disadvantages.
What is the time frame for appealing a denial after receiving the notification?
I've seen it be 14 days. That was a while back. I think it's unique to properties, maybe 10 days, maybe. It's different, and you'll get a letter with a denial letter. You'll get a time frame of when to appeal.
And what is the look back period for people with evictions?
Usually 7 years. About 7 years.
Okay, and 2 more questions. I want to say 2 more questions. Is AMI gross income or net income?
It's gross.
And what is that maximum income for Section 8 in Alameda County?
I think it's 50% AMI.
Okay, thank you, Pam. I think we're done with the questions in the chat.
Okay, great.
So
Okay. Oh, this is where we do our poll.
yeah.
Okay, so I have to hide this slide because the answer is on the slide. So.
So we're launching a poll. What's the average number of open wait lists in Alameda County? All right, looks like most of you, 34% of you had mentioned that it's below 65.
Okay, all right. Are we ready to move on? Okay. All right, the answer is the average number of open waiting lists right now, and this has been steady for several years, is about 450 waiting lists open a year. I'm sorry, at any point in time in Alameda County. I was astonished when I heard that information. I got that information after doing my statistics, generally overview. I was like, wow, that is amazing. And that's because we have a housing rich community, even though we are strapped by affordable, very high prices. But that means that there's plenty of opportunities to apply for affordable housing. There's 450 waiting lists open at any time. That number changed, those properties change from week to week. We update our database like every day. Lists open and close, there'll be something open for 2 weeks, and it'll be closed for 2 years, and then there'll be something open for a month, and it'll be closed for like 5 years. It's constantly changing, but it just gives you an idea of the opportunities that are available to our clients. All those waiting lists are not going to be available to your clients. They're not going to be eligible for every single one, because some of them are seniors, some of them are disabled, some of them are HIV positive people. So you'll have a section of those. You'll have a portion of those that will be eligible for your clients, but it's pretty amazing. I mean, pretty amazing. And we're building more properties all the time. So there was questions I had in the survey about our data. How do we update our data? And every day we update our data. Every day we look at our housing data, and we're very proud to announce, and I'm very proud of our housing department. They update 1,300 records every month. That is the entire population of affordable housing in Alameda County. We are one of the only places where you can go to get all of the affordable housing at any point in time, but open waiting lists in Alameda County. We have a central location. We're the hub, and we've done that for you guys, because half of you, we don't want you to spend half your job looking for open waiting lists. Many people do. I spent a lot of time doing that myself, and then I was like, okay, well, let's just put everything in one pot. We'll have everybody can go one place, find all the affordable housing waiting lists that are open, and then just pick and choose. And you won't have to spend all your time working, because we'll be working for you. You can be very, very feel confident that that information is correct. We put a lot of information in there, like, is a wheelchair accessible? Do you take pets? Will you accept a subsidy like Section 8, or will you accept a deposit assistance program? Matter of fact, by the way, affordable housing properties, like below market rate properties, will accept a Section 8 voucher if the person doesn't have to rush and they don't have a time frame and they're already in a place with a voucher and they want to move into a property that's affordable. Not that it will matter, because they'll have a voucher anyway, but it's another option for them. We look at credit check fees. We look at past evictions if they're allowed. So we look at all the pertinent information for our clients on the record, so we can provide that to your callers and to you, as well as other ways, forms I'm going to show you on how to find in this information that's easy and friendly and user friendly. So anyway, we're updating every day. It's a good source of affordable housing information for you, as well as other types of beds and shares and other types of housing. We are obviously, it's a beautiful marriage between services and housing database, because our service database has all this housing related services, like deposit assistance, like back rent assistance, like utility assistance, like legal aid, like some furniture, very low, it's pretty scarce in Alameda County. Transitional housing and coordinated entry, of course. Transitional housing, I'll just mention this for anybody who doesn't know. Transitional housing is a program. It's like it's like a stepping stone to getting into a permanent housing. Say your clients, they don't have a job, they've got AFDC, they've got kids, they need something to get them into housing, but they can't afford a property and they can't wait for affordable. It's a stepping stone. There's a few properties that are, they're kind of a communal situation. They share their bathrooms, they share their living rooms, they share their kitchens, and they have bedrooms where people they rent their own bedrooms. So it's cheaper. Sometimes they have case management on site, and they can stay up to 2 years usually. Just enough time to get their feet, on the ground. So those are transitional housing, and we have those programs listed in our database, in our services database, not in our housing database, because it's a program. Anything that's not permanent is in our services. So transitional housing is not permanent, but if you call the 211 operator and you ask for transitional housing, they can give you the list of transitional housing. And we don't update that. We don't find out where the vacancies are. You'll have to find those out for yourselves. But it's a good option for people. It's for men and women and families, single men, single women, and families. So it's a transitional housing. So I'll talk a little bit about this is kind of my favorite thing is the website. It's the AC Housing Choices website. We've had this for probably at least 10 years, longer, because in its first iteration was kind of a little funky thing. We upgraded it, we improved it, we made it more user-friendly. And it has, as I said, it has all the open waiting lists in an affordable housing waiting list in Alameda County at one time. And it's a great website. It has lots of information, it has pictures, all kinds of the same information that I was talking to you about before. Evictions, okay, pets, wheelchair accessible, all that stuff is on a website. You don't have to call 211, you can just look at the website. You can have your clients call and look at the website. You don't have to call 211. Not that I don't want you to call 211, but it's nice to be able to access information in different ways. So that's the website. And it also has a lot of information about other things like FAQs, information about questions that people ask. And this is the way it looks. achousingchoices.org. Let me share my screen. I'm gonna show you I'm gonna give you a little tour of the website, okay? So here's the website, okay? You can see you can look for a city, okay? You can look for bedroom size, and it even goes to some smaller SROs, 4 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, studios. And you can go to the rent ranges, 0 to 5, 5 to 1,000, etc. And then we have a TBD, which is to be determined, because some properties that are being built under construction, they haven't determined the rent yet. So this is a good spot to look for new constructions, because we list those too, okay? And then a percentage of renter's income, which is a really good one. That's the Cadillac price. That's the 30% of income. So you want to look at the percentage of renter's income. You want to do a rent range, and you want to do a TBD. If you feel like, if you've got the time to look at all 3 different categories, you can do 3 different searches and give yourself the most bang for your buck for your clients. So let's do a search, and then as well, you can do units, wheelchair accessible units or pet friendly units. Let's take a city let's take Oakland, because there's a lot of units there. And let's do a 2-bedroom, since most of our families are looking for that. Let's do a rent from 1,000 to 1,500. Let's do pet friendly, yes. And let's see what we get. So maybe it's probably because there's no pet friendly. So we'll go back. We'll go back and we'll take this off. And we'll do another search here. See if I can just see this. Okay, so we have 3 buildings right now in Oakland that are that have the rent range, which was 1,000 to 15, and they and we also so there you go. This is all this Brookfield, and this is on 98th Avenue. Now, if you click on the picture, you'll get more detail. Okay, here's the detail on the property. Here's the contact information here. Okay, Myrna McDonald and her phone number. You have the property address here. You can click on that and you can get a Google map of where it is. Here's the property. Here's the units. Okay, we looked at for a 2-bedroom. Right here. Okay. 2-bedroom right here. So that's the unit. That's the unit that we saw. That went for. Oh, look, it's a wheelchair. That's why maybe I didn't remember clicking on that. But anyway, that's the 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit. It's $1,547 a month. And the minimum income is $38, which is basically 2 times the rent. And then you can open that up and you can see more detail on that. You see all the detail on that. And it's family, it's not restricted in any way. It's a family unit. They don't accept pets, as we know here. The appliances, the paid utilities, they don't pay any of the utilities. They have a security deposit of 600, accepts vendor pay. And the vendor pay is basically programs like, what do they call that? The money, the short subsidies, I can't remember the name. Abode does them a lot. What's the name of that program? It's a rapid rehousing program. Rapid rehousing, where it's a subsidy. People get subsidies for 2-year subsidies or year subsidies, or McKinney, not the McKinney, the linkages program, where they where they need to, they have subsidies for a couple of years and then they need to pick up the rent, the entire rent at the end of 2 years. That's a subsidy that can sometimes come through the HRCs. The housing resource centers I was talking about, that sometimes comes through them. Families can get those sometimes. But some of these properties do accept them. This one does accept them. If it says vendor pay, we'll accept those programs. And they do accept Section 8. So that's how that works. It's like that's how you work it. That's how you work this website. And there's also frequently asked questions. What is affordable housing? What is sober living housing? What is transitional housing? All these questions that people have voiced to me. I have an eviction or bad credit on my record. Are they still housing options for me? And let's take a look for that. Yes, there is. And then it talks about in 7-year look back, consult a free credit repair agency for more information on repairing it. So that's some of those issues there. So, and also the other thing about this website that I want to just point out is there's another helpful sites here under the top menu bar here. Other helpful sites is you can go to there's a affordable housing resources there, and it'll give you all of the developers. These are all the developers. These are all the property developers that are developing affordable housing. They're nonprofits, right? They're, like Bridge Housing, like Eden Housing, like these properties, these big companies, they get the financing, they do the planning, they do the architecture, they build the properties, they do a lot of work. And we, on their websites are, a lot of information on what's open and what's not. But we do the work. We go through all these websites monthly, and we look at them and we make sure that we've captured all of the open waiting lists. Okay. You don't have to look at these anymore, but if you're interested, they're here. The other helpful site which I want to show you is if you have a client that, say, that 4-bedroom unit in Fremont, they're looking for a property. These are all the property management companies. Okay, these are all the ones that are in the county of Alameda. I'm sure there may be more, but all of these property management companies have listings for units. So let's say Marquardt Property Management. Okay, this is an Oakland-based property management company. You can go in here. These are all market rate units. Okay, we don't update from this because these things go so quickly. It's not worth it, because by the time you get to it, by the time we get into the 211 and you call and find out, it's probably rented. So it's not worth our time and worth your time to do it. But you can go directly to their property management site, look for homes for rent, say, for example, and you'll see different properties that are renting right now. So that's a good way to also find units for your clients. Here's one for $1,600 a month. It's a studio, a townhouse in Oakland. Here's a 2-bedroom, that type of thing. Okay. And one advantage, I think, to smart property management companies is they'll ask you for one credit check. Oftentimes it'll apply to several of the properties. So you don't have to have in generally, I don't think you need to do it. Now they're different units, but my experience has been that that they will take one credit check for various properties for a while, and you don't have to do it over and over again. that. But anyway, those are there. And then those are the two things I wanted to show you. Okay, so just remember, don't forget to look for percentage of renter's income. And we can do that right now. We can look for something, say, and one other thing too, one other hint. If you want to look at the entire county, just don't put in any city. Okay, just don't put a city in. We also look for properties that are outside, slightly outside the county. Like if we see some cool things in Contra Costa, we'll pop them in, or in San Jose, or anything that's good priced, we'll pop them in. So like say, don't put a city in, put in a bedroom size, like maybe put a 3-bedroom in, and put in a. Let's just say, let's put any bedroom size. I'll just show you how many any listings there are in the database right now. There's 178 buildings right now in the database. That's including the world of Alameda County as well as a few outside the county. So you'll see everything here. Okay, from all of it. And like I said, you can just like hit on something. Here's a 30% of income. Wait list open. Spring Lake and San Leandro, Eden Lodge. And you can see this is the building. There's the contact information. You can see this underneath of the building description. If you can see it, it says in small letters, more detail. You can open that too. I didn't open that before, but then that shows you can open that. And the business hours, et cetera, et cetera. So there you go. And then that's a 30% of income, 1-bedroom unit. Okay, well, there you go. Okay, so another excellent place to go is the Doorway website. This is the regional Doorway affordable housing in the region, all of it, Santa Clara, Contra Costa, Alameda. It doesn't have a lot of Alameda, and it's fairly new, so it doesn't have a whole ton of listings. AC Housing Choices has a lot more listings because we've been around forever. This is like the big brother to the AC Housing Choices website, which is the little brother. This has got some way more features, and one of the beautiful features on this one is you can apply online on some of the properties. You can just apply right online. You don't have to pick up a paper application, but you can apply online. So that's a great website too. I would recommend using that one and AC Housing Choices. The other one is out of county affordable housing. You know, some of your clients might be willing to move out of the area for cheaper rents. We know that San Joaquin County has cheaper rents, Fresno, Contra Costa has the Richmond and Antioch, and Solano County has Vallejo. If you want to use a really nice website, it's affordablehousingonline.com, and it will give you affordable housing all across the entire country. Listings for the properties. It doesn't give you, I don't think, when the open waiting lists are, but it does give you when the Section 8 wait lists are open, and I will give a little shout out to Section 8, finding Section 8. If I had a client that wanted Section 8 and she went to Reno, because Reno had an open waiting list for Section 8. This was many years ago. She applied for Reno Section 8. She was living here in Hayward. She applied for, in several years, she got up to the top of the list. She went to Reno. She took all her paperwork. She did the intake. She had to live in Reno for 1 year. She got the voucher. She had to live in Reno for 1 year. Then after that year, she could port wherever she wanted, and she decided to port back to the Bay Area. So she lives here in the Bay Area now with a Section 8 voucher. So on the affordablehousing.com website is listings for Section 8 lists that are open across the country. And that may be all the way from, New York all the way across the country. So something that clients might consider. We can also provide housing subscriptions for agencies that want to pay an annual fee. You can get the entire list of all of our housing data on a PDF twice a month sent to your agency if you'd like. This is going to be based on your budget, monthly budget. So that's something that you might want to, yearly budget. That's something you might want to consider. Now I'm going to get into the heart of the matter, which is how to work as a navigator. The best way to work as a navigator, simple, straightforward, ABC. First, you want to apply for affordable housing, and you want to apply to as many properties as you can. Clients should at least apply to 10 different properties, I would say. It's free to apply. There's no limit. You can just do it. And that's one of the things that I recommend. Where do you get applications? You have to go get, most of the time you have to go get a paper application. You go to the office, you get a paper application, you fill it out, and as a caseworker, you can go look, check your AC Housing Choices website, see where the open waiting lists are, go to the office where the property is, get a paper copy, and come back and make copies for yourself. You can pass them out to your clients until that waiting list is closed, drop them off or mail them in. This makes it a lot easier for everybody. And that's one way to do it. You can also do online. The AC Housing Choices does have a few properties that you can download the application. There'll be a link on there. But there are not that many of them. Most of them it's still a paper world out here in the affordable housing world. And then for properties under construction, look under the AC Housing Choices website, go to TBA, and that will give you the to be determined rents, which are the new properties, and check those out. And they can get into a property like that. You have to get on what they call a interest list, and that interest list will alert you when there's the formal application process starts. And those properties can be pretty quick, but you have to be in a lottery. So winning a lottery is a pretty big deal. So you can try that. We've had people do that, but actually waiting lists are anywhere from 2 up to 10 years. It's a wait game, but it's something really worth it. And important. Okay, another very important slide here, application tracking tips. And these are the things I learned through the hard knocks of working with clients over many years. They have to have a stable mailing address, because communication with affordable housing is all done by the mail. And they will send you a postcard saying, are you still interested in applying? Are you still interested in being on our list? If you're still interested, you should respond to us within 10 days. I've had clients that responded in 11 days and they were kicked off a list they were on for 2 years. It's a heartbreak, but you have to make sure that your clients stay on top of their mail. They have to be able to be reached and informed about their rentals, about what's happening. Keep track of where you apply. People have called, I've met with clients before and I asked, if you ever applied to affordable housing, they go, yeah, I have, but I can't remember where I applied. I'm like, thinking that person could have had a unit by now if they had kept track of where they apply. So it's really important that your client keep it like one piece of paper, put everything down on a piece of paper, and the address, the property, the date they applied, and contact information. Update their contact information. So when they do change their phone number or their address, they should contact every property on that paper and tell them, here I am. I'm still interested. I want to, be on the list. You have to make it an active, proactive thing, and it takes a fair amount of record keeping. And then having basic documents ready to go. Your ID, proof of income, have them ready, because at any time, your client could get a call to go in to have a qualifying meeting with the property, and the first persons that respond to that meeting will get, first dibs on the property. So oftentimes they may call 5 people and say, hey, come in for a meeting. And with the first person that has all their docs, you're going to be much more in better position to get that property. So just having them be at the ready. And also my approach is just people need hope and confidence. Start by listening to their story. Set their expectations. Client does the work. You provide the roadmap. Be a cheerleader. Celebrate all the wins. And also reinforce. Follow steps, and it will work. Follow the steps that I laid out there. It will work. Do regular check-ins with your clients and track their progress. Set realistic timelines. Don't be sure you let them know it's going to be a wait for affordable housing. They may need short-term housing. They may need to live with people for a while, like they are right now. They've got to figure out, like, maybe baby steps, maybe transitional housing, some baby steps to get into affordable. And I would say the more places you apply, the more likely you'll be able to get in faster. I've seen people get in faster, but I would never tell my client to set expectations that weren't realistic. and provide a reality check to save time and effort. You don't want clients wasting their time. You certainly don't want them going down doing things that are going to waste their precious time. So that's why I always say, you follow the steps, use the AC Housing Choices website, and that'll be the most efficient way to do it. And you can contact me directly if you have a case that you want to discuss, and I would be happy to talk to you. And I just want to see if we have a moment. We're close to our time frame, but if anybody has any suggestions or ideas that they have about things that they've done as housing navigators that have worked for them. And I'm happy to stay later if I'm beyond the hour and a half, if anybody wants to stay.
Sure, if folks want to put that in the chat, you're welcome to do so, and we'll move on to the next slide and share out some additional information.
Okay, this is a little story we wanted to share with you.
From homelessness to hope, my journey. At 45 years old, I became homeless.
Catherine, can you
Not because of any fault of my own, but because life happened in a way that I never expected. In a flash, everything I had built was gone. I had no job, no income, no safety net, no real support system to catch me. And for a long while, I didn't know what to do. But I'm sharing my story today because I didn't give up. And I want the people who support others in crisis to know what the fight really looks like. Homelessness isn't about lacking a roof. It's about losing a sense of self. It's the weight of depression, the sting of loneliness, and the silence of so many unanswered calls for help. It's lying awake at night wondering if you'll ever feel safe again or ever able to reclaim your dignity. It's being pushed into services that don't fit by people who didn't take time to truly listen. But still, I rose. This was a 3.5+ year ordeal. I'm now 56 years old, and I survived so much, including being a gay man who lived through the AIDS crisis. But the biggest hill to climb wasn't just surviving. It was the discrimination I witnessed, especially race-based discrimination here in the Bay Area. It's a shame, truly, because it's 100% real. The system often failed the very people it claimed to help. And that was the hardest part to watch and experience. There were days that I just wanted to give up. Days I nearly did. But something in me, call it faith, call it grit, call it sheer stubbornness, wouldn't let me quit. I had to believe in myself when no one else did. I had to fight for my own future. And I did fight. I know that I ruffled a lot of feathers along the way. I beat on every door. I scoured Craigslist, Zillow, so many community bulletin boards, grocery stores, low-income housing websites, every single day. I networked with mental health professionals. I leaned on counseling and tried to stay centered even while struggling inside. I went in person to apartment offices because I learned quickly that emails are easy to ignore, but voices build connection. I introduced myself. I asked questions. I made sure they saw my humanity because I wasn't just another name on a list. I was a person in need of compassion and fairness. Eventually, I found some resources that actually helped, like Bay Area Legal Aid, which not only provided legal guidance, but also offered flyers, referrals, and access to housing meetings. And yes, I met some amazing people along the way, like Amanda Cruz at Eden I&R, who didn't just give up on me. She didn't just give me referrals, she gave me hope. Amanda stood by me, helped me navigate the impossible, and reminded me that I mattered. But if I've learned anything, it's this: you are your own best resource. Case managers, if you're reading this or hearing this, I want you to know something. What your clients need most is to be heard. Don't push them into what's easiest. Help them find what's right. Don't assume the first program is the best option. Walk with them until you understand their needs. Too many people mean well, but fail to actually listen. Be the one who listens. Be the Amanda Cruz in someone's life. After years of relentless struggle, I now have a stable job, I have a home, I have peace, and I have self-worth again. I have pride again. I made it, not because someone saved me, but because people gave me space to fight for myself and believed in me enough to keep me going. I had to reclaim my life piece by piece and build something from the rubble. This is what survival looks like, and this is what victory looks like too. To anyone out there still going through it, I see you, and I promise you, there's a way forward, even when it feels impossible, even when the world feels cold, even when no one is answering the phone. You can make it, not because the path is easy, but because you are stronger than your circumstances. And those who work in this field, case managers, housing advocates, support workers, please remember, your work can either be a turning point or just another wall. Be the turning point. Don't be the wall. Because people like me don't just need housing. We need hope. We need humanity. We need someone to believe we're worth fighting for until we can believe in ourselves. Thank you.
So, yeah, that's the story, and there's some quickly going over a few of the programs. You'll see it in the PowerPoint slides when you get them, so I won't go over them right now. It'll take a fair amount of time. But there is another program that if you have clients that need Medi-Cal or CalFresh and they don't want to go into the county, as not many of us do, county building, you can actually call 211 and they can enroll people right over the phone, Medi-Cal and CalFresh. And that's a kind of a cool program there. Confidential AHIP is the program that's for HIV people who are living with HIV. That's a housing navigation program. So any of your clients who have HIV, send them over to 211 and we'll help navigate them into a good program. It's a housing program for just people that way, families or individuals. And we also promote this Saluna and Bright Life for housing. This is a mental health coaching app for families. This is fantastic for you guys. Bright Life is for parents, and California paid billions of dollars for these apps. And it's really just to help parents with coaching. And there's no qualifications, there's no citizenship, there's no income qualifications, nothing. It's just an app. You can look at it. The parents they register, then they can get information on tantrums, on bedwetting, on development, et cetera, all these things parents need help with. I needed that. And then also you can get a coach. You can actually have a counselor if you want to go deeper, and you can get a counselor that can help you. And also teens, they have one for the teens. The Saluna is from 13 up to 20 something. For teens, and that's for the teens themselves. During times of disaster, you can call 211, as we were doing the one in COVID. We could tell people where to go get vaccines, where to get free food. It's a great, and any time an earthquake happens or whatever happens, tsunami, we were prepared with information for the community. It helps the police line will be jammed, so this is the better line to call. And then if there's one thing you learned today, can you drop that in the chat? We'd really be curious to see what the response will be. This is a listing for resource links that I mentioned in the PowerPoint that you can have one page on. Helpful resource links. And there's my contact information. If you're interested in talking to me about a specific case that you have, I'd be more than happy to discuss them with you. Any barriers or things you've come up against. And then we have questions.
All right, so just want to open up the floor to questions for those that have stayed on. Thank you, appreciate your time. We apologize for going a little bit over, but for those who had questions, let me open it up the floor to those who have questions. You're welcome to come off mute, raise your hand, and then I'll also address the questions in the chat. Okay, so let's see here. While waiting for folks to come off mute, let me address some questions in the chat. Wait lists. I think this goes back to the presentation on the part of the presentation around wait lists for affordable housing. Where can we find those wait lists, and the organizations who are currently providing deposit assistance? Is that
Okay.
question?
Yeah, the wait lists, you go to achousingchoices.org, and that will have all the open wait lists. When you look for any, if you look for any property there, you know, you do any property that you see there has an open wait list. You won't see things that don't have, if you see a property on there, it has an open wait list. We take off everything that doesn't have an open wait list, so everything on there is active. Okay, so that's where you'll find them. Just go to the achousingchoices.org website to look for them. And that's for Alameda County and a few outside the county. If you want to look for stuff that's all across the country, you go to affordablehousingonline.com. And then there's the regional one, which was Doorway. That will give you listings for the region, Contra Costa, Marin, San Mateo, all around that area, and Alameda. But like I said, you should use both AC Housing Choices and the Doorway, because Doorway doesn't have that many Alameda County listings, and we have all of them in AC Housing Choices.
I think somebody mentioned about, because it's related to this question, subsidized housing, same thing as well.
It's the same thing. It's the
Okay.
same thing as it's just a different word.
I have a question pertaining to that. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Ariel. I was gonna let you know that.
Okay, thank you. You had did another website as well. Mark, it was with the M. I don't remember the name.
Marquardt.
Yeah, how do
Marquardt.
you get access to that? Is that on the 211 website as well, or is
Yeah.
that a separate? Okay.
It is. If you go to the AC Housing Choices website, you go at
Mhm.
the top menu bar. It says other helpful sites or other helpful somethings. Go to take that down. You'll see it. It's under housing lists. Just look at each one of those, and you'll see the one that has Marquardt. It has all of the property management companies. All of those property
Okay.
management companies are going to have market rate units. They're going to have the expensive units. Okay.
Okay.
But they're
I see them right here.
but they're immediately available, because if your client has some income and they need something right away, that's where to go.
Yeah.
Because you'll get to those properties, to those property management companies.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Just want to check if anyone else wants to come off mute and share a question before I go to the next question in the chat. You're welcome to raise your hand, come off mute. Okay, so how often should folks check in with 211 on housing waitlist updates?
Oh, I would say at least twice a month, beginning of month, end of the month. I think you're going to see the most changes there. You can go to the AC Housing Choices website, because that's updated in pretty much 24 hours. If we put in a new change, that it'll show up on the website the next day, actually at midnight that the next day. So it's pretty current. If you call 211 right on the phone, you'll get everything like real time. But it's not, I would say just call just look at the website in the beginning of the month and look at the website at the end of the month, or call 211 at the beginning or call 211 at the end of the month, I would say. Just get on as many lists as possible. Just get out there and get those applications and make sure they track them, and keep current with them and make sure they have your contact information. It doesn't hurt to just check in and say, hey, I'm still interested, and they won't tell you where you're at on the list. They won't inform you, but they will say, yeah, you're on the list. Hopefully they'll tell you that. And just keep bugging them. Be a friendly bug. That's what I always say.
Does the family need to get approved for affordable housing first before they search the unit?
You mean look at each unit is unique. And when they apply for the affordable housing, they're gonna have to do it sight unseen, because you're not gonna be able to look at a unit, affordable housing unit, before you apply for it. Because there's no vacancies, right? There's no model units. So you just apply, you like the building, you like the neighborhood, you like the area. Pretty much, they're probably good looking units anyway, because they have to keep up a standard. And then you apply, and then they'll call you in. When your name does come up to the top, you pay your credit check, you go through the verification process, you bring all your paperwork, and then you'll get approved or not. Sometimes you may not even be able to see the unit, because they may not have like a vacant unit to look at. Most, I would say 50-50, you might be able to see the unit, but you get approved at their verification meeting. You don't have to do it way before. I mean, you can apply and for the waiting list and put down all kinds of information, but you just have to verify it when you get to the meeting. I would say if you're going to do your income, if you're going to put your income on the pre-application before you go to the meeting, like just putting on yourself on the free, just get it close to where it should be. Don't exaggerate it, or don't do too little. Put it right where it should be. Be as close to the truth possible as you can, but don't worry about being super accurate, because by the time your name comes up to the top, your kids might have moved out and gone to college, or you might have a new baby, so your household might have changed, your income might have changed, all these kinds of things, and they expect that.
Okay, I think we are done with the chat questions, questions in the chat. So anyone else that have any questions, you're welcome to come off mute and share any questions that you may have. Well, I just want to say thank you so much, Pam, for such a wonderful presentation. Lots of great information, and thank you so much for being with us again today. And also thank you all for taking the time to stay over. We apologize for staying over, but hopefully we got some information for you that you could take back to your organizations. And again, Pam has her contact information, so you're welcome to reach out with any questions. We will be sending information from today's materials, presentation and materials out in an email. And we hope to see you next time. We wish you all a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was such a pleasure to be here, and I applaud your work. You do wonderful work. I wish you great success, and anything I can do to help you out, I will be there.